Hello, my babies. As I've mentioned, this is your girl Majane, aka Mama Maj. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and you are listening to Mama Majism. Thank you so much for deciding to listen in on this talk of love and honest conversation. So let's get into it. Happy Black History Month! Woo, woo, woo! I mean, we're a weekend. It's week 2, but even still, it's just one of those things where it's like, oh, we've been through so many Black History Months that you don't want to keep hearing about the same people in history, which, yes, they have done amazing things, but I think it's also important to talk about things that are happening currently and maybe some unsung heroes that people don't really talk about too much. So we're going to get into that too throughout this month, but for this particular episode, I want to focus on this. So I feel like since it's Black History Month, it makes sense to have a conversation on something that has been bothering me for some time now. As you all know, love TikTok, okay? You get a lot of information and inspiration for my daily life, and it really has been a positive impact for me. But at the end of the day, it is a social media app, and sometimes I'm just not going to like what I see when I'm scrolling through my FYP. And more specifically, I haven't been feeling the fact that Gen Z gets credit for AAVE. What do I mean by that? I'll give you an example. So a couple nights ago, I was scrolling away on my For You page on TikTok, and I came across this video of a person that I'm following, and it was a Stitch video. So the video was asking, tell me you're a millennial without telling me you're a millennial. And so this person stitched themselves in the video with their story to prove that they're a millennial. And so she was saying so she's like a financial advisor or something. I don't really remember, but I think that's the reason why I follow her. I don't know. But she said that she had posted something on one of her social media accounts and people were responding in the comments with the blue hat emoji. And she was super confused because she's like, why are all these people commenting this? What does this mean? What's going on? So she said she asked her intern, who is Gen Z, and asked them what it meant. And they explained it to her what the emoji means. And for those of you who don't know, which I feel like my audience, you do, but in case you don't, when someone uses a blue hat emoji, that's another word for a hat is a cap, right? So when someone like gives the emoji of the cap, they're saying that you're lying. Or if they say no, and then the emoji of the cap, that means not lying. So yeah, essentially that's what that is. And so let's get into why that I didn't like that. Well, of course, when I had watched the video, I was like, what? Like, what does she mean? She had to go to a Gen Z person to tell her what the emoji meant. Like, huh? So I made it a point to comment on the video, and I was like, that's not Gen Z, that is AAVE. And she was like, oh, I had no idea. Thanks for telling me, or sorry, whatever. And I was like, well, I mean, I guess. I understand why you wouldn't know because, again, Gen Z has taken over a lot of AAVE things. So let's kind of get into that a little bit. So what is AAVE? So it stands for African American Vernacular English. There are many words for this: Ebonics, slang, even black scent. But for me personally, I feel like I use the term black scent when it's someone who's not black, who's trying to sound like they are by using a black scent or by like heavily using AAVE. It originated in the plantation of the American South where black people were enslaved. I want to pause for a moment and put a heavy emphasis on how my ancestors were enslaved. They weren't slaves, they were enslaved. So what it means to be enslaved, it means that you're captured and turned into a slave. So when we make it a point to reduce that time period in American history by simply saying that black people were slaves, we're actually doing them a disservice, and we're saying that is who they've always been. Like, they were just slaves, you know what I mean? Really, in actuality, these were people who were captured from their homes. They were brought to a place and forced into slavery. It seems like a slight difference, semantics-wise, and you kind of almost want to be like, oh, tomato, tomato, like same difference, but that's not the case. I will have a short video linked in my show notes where you can watch where they explain the difference between saying that someone is enslaved versus someone is a slave, if you want more information on that. But I ain't gonna handhold you. That's as much information I'm gonna give you. The rest, you have the internet, okay? Um, but anyway, back to the topic at hand. Going back to the word capping, for example, and this is just one example of many. I have seen so many videos on my For You page where people are giving Gen Z the credit for things that are Black culture, but that can be saved for another time. Using capping, we're just going to use capping as an example. So that actually dates back to the 80s. Rappers were using it in songs to emphasize that they weren't lying and even to make fun of people. But the beauty about AAVE is the fact that one word or phrase can transform its meaning throughout the years. Really, it just depends. Capping, for example, not only does it mean that you're lying or that you're making fun of someone, but it could also mean that you busting a cap in somebody's ass. Right? It really just all depends on the context of the conversation. But this is what we mean when we say Black culture is everything. Like, this is Black culture. It's just something that you know about because it's what you grew up hearing and learning about. It's the language that the people who look like you use to communicate. Like, it's a beautiful thing, and that's why it frustrates me so much when people try and give the credit to Gen Z. What? Like, this shit's been around way longer than, I don't even know where the Gen Z cap cut's at, but these words, these phrases, like, they've been around way longer. The emoji hasn't, the blue cap hasn't, but like, it's not from Gen Z. It is from Black people. Like, respect the drip, Karen. Sorry, I had to take a moment. Okay. So why is this important to know? When you go around spreading misinformation like this, it creates an already huge divide between cultures. Now, I'm not saying that this is millennials versus Gen Z or even Black culture versus Gen Z. I actually really, really love the Gen Zers out there. I feel like they are about they shit. They are very unapologetic in the things that they do and they say, and I have so much love and respect for them, but it's kind of one of those things where it's like intent versus impact. There are just some things that you should be able to be like, pause, hold up, this isn't coming from me as a Gen Zer, this is actually coming from Black culture, and I am someone who enjoys using it for whatever reason. So that's what it is. Like, I guess paying proper homage. Do you say homage or homage? Do you say homage when you're when you're in Italy? Okay. I don't know. Just okay. But like, it's just one of those things, and I don't know what I'm saying anymore. But yeah, it's important for a slew of reasons, but mainly it's almost like white people are using Black culture and Black things because they're cool and they can make fun of it and do whatever they want without the repercussions of what comes with those words and what comes with being Black, like the Black culture and stuff. Like, it's almost as if they get to enjoy being Black without being Black. It's crazy. I feel like I've heard that somewhere before, you know? Like, it's wild. So the challenge for this week is to check yourself. Plainly speaking, if you're someone who uses AAVE and you're not Black, maybe you should look into why. Like, try and figure out on an inner level, like, what's going on. Are you using these words because it sounds cool, you heard it online and you want to sound cool like the cool kids, or like, do you actually understand what it means, where it's coming from? Like, do you understand the words that you're saying? I have been a perpetrator of this as well. There are words sometimes that I use that I don't know the background of it or the context or the history of certain words, but I use them because I see them on the internet or because I like how it sounds, but I might not be using them in the right way, or I might not be, giving the credit to the people that, it should be credited to. So really just making sure that you're doing your part. If you, don't continue the spread of misinformation, and, if you see somebody else making that mistake, correct them, obviously in a nice way. You don't have to be a poop head about it. Just like me, like, it was just a simple little side note, not Gen Z, that's all AAVE, thank you. And she was like, oh, I didn't know, thank you so much for sharing. Like, yeah, sis, I'm gonna let you know, because I'm tired of it. But yeah, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see y'all next week. Bye now. Thank you for listening. Please make sure to subscribe if you haven't already and follow all the socials at Mamamajism. That's MAMMAJISM. If you decide you want to financially support me, on my accounts you'll be able to find out how. Thanks in advance. Until we meet again, please be kind to one another. And from the bottom of my heart, I love you. I'm feeling so